Good Monday. Hello, William. Hello, CJ. Hello, Denise. How's it going? All right. Today is Monday, February 10th, 2025. And we've got, hello, Sister Jeannie. We've got some continued into what our remedy is, more definitions so that we can understand this. And put it into practice slowly. Like I mentioned before I ended yesterday, there is a lot of resistance to something unknown or something that hasn't always been done a certain way. So it takes courage and fortitude to utilize the method, because you're going to get pushback. However, when people understand, and that's why I'm doing this for a lot of people, so that maybe those in positions of who would normally be pushing back would just say, well, wait a minute, I heard about this. Let me examine it further. And then maybe, just maybe, we might get some remedy before they go and change everything all over again, which it appears as if Trump is doing, because I watched a little financial commentary by Taylor Kenny from ITM Trading. She's wondering whether or not Trump is doing what he's doing to make the crash landing a little bit harder instead of smoother, by spreading it out. Instead of spreading it out over years, he's going to do this more rapidly by introducing these tariffs and things to bring things into a position of radical change instead of enabling us to slowly move into a Catholic monarchy. So we shall see, but all according to the Most Holy Trinity's divine will. All right, let's get started with some Good Day Rising prayers. In nomine Dei, Matronam Nostrae, Deum Iesum Christum, et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, let us place ourselves in the presence of the Most Holy Trinity, and in Catholic contemplation humbly venerate the Divine Family. Most Holy and Venerable Trinity, one Divine Family, I believe that Thou art here present. I venerate Thee with the deepest humility. I render to Thee with my whole heart the homage which is due to Thee. O Most Holy Trinity, I firmly believe that Thou art one Divine Family, Deum Matronam Nostrae, et Deum Iesum Christum, et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. In relying on Thine infinite goodness and promises, I hope to obtain pardon of my sins, the help of Thy grace and life everlasting, through the merits of Deum Iesum Christum, et Deum Matronam Nostrae. O Most Holy Trinity, I love Thee above all things with my whole heart and soul, because Thou art all good and worthy of all love. I love my neighbor as myself for love of Thee, and I forgive all who have injured me and ask pardon of all whom I have injured. Let us thank the Most Holy Trinity for the many graces that we receive, and offer ourselves and our sufferings up to heaven and for the souls in purgatory. O Most Holy Trinity, I most humbly thank Thee for all the favors Thou hast bestowed upon me to the present moment. It is again thanks to Thy bounty that I should live to see this day, and I desire to employ it solely in Thy service. I consecrate to Thee all my thoughts, words, actions, and sufferings of this day. Sanctify them, that there may be none that is not animated by Thy love, or that would not tend to Thy greater glory. Let us make a firm resolution to avoid evil and to do good, and let us beg of the Most Holy Trinity the graces which are necessary to us. O most holy Trinity, thou knowest my weakness, and that I am unable to do anything good without the help of thy grace. Deny me not thy grace proportionate to my necessities. Give me strength to avoid everything which thou forbiddest, to practice the good which thou hast commanded, and enable me patiently to bear all the trials which it may please thee to send me. O Dea Matronam Nostrae, Mother of God, I place myself under thy protection. I throw myself with confidence into the arms of thy compassion. Be to me, O Mother of Mercy, my refuge in distress, my consolation in suffering, now and at the hour of my death. O most holy Trinity, as envisioned by St. Lucia as the most holy Trinitarian Theophany, Dea Matronam Nostrae et Deum Iesum Christum et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, I am heartily sorry for having offended thee, and I detest all my sins, because I dread the loss of heaven and the pains of hell, but most of all because I have offended thee, O most holy Trinity, who are all good and deserving of all my love. I firmly resolve, with the help of thy grace, to confess my sins, to do penance, and to amend my life. In nomine Dei, Matronam Nostrae, et Deum Iesum Christum, et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Gracias. All right, we're going to jump right in here. And this is chapter 16 from Give Yourself Credit, Money Doesn't Grow on Trees, by David E. Robinson. The mark, the name, the number. Chapter 33 of Epistle to Americans 2, about history. And he causeth all, both small and great, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Revelations 13, 16, 17. The mark, or the name of the beast, is the trademark or trade name of the all-capital letter straw man that the government deals with directly instead of dealing with you. All right, now I'm just going to interject here because we have another theory about the mark, which would be the incorrect baptism, okay, because that's also on the forehead. The straw man's birth date on his birth certificate is the date when your all-capital letter government created the trademark, trade name. Oh, wait a second. I'm sorry. I read that incorrectly. Your straw man's birth date on his birth certificate is the date when your all-capital letter government-created trade name trademark was birthed like a vessel, B-E-R-T-H-E-D, by the state in your port of entry. All right, so it gets into the maritime. Your straw man's trademark trade name doesn't belong to you. It belongs to your artificial vessel straw man. Your straw man's birth date is the means by which you are enticed to be the surety for him, by which you are fooled into claiming his B-E-R-T-H birth date to be yours. This is why you cannot speak for yourself in court. You must have a lawyer speak for you instead, because you have told this lie. You perjure yourself when you state the date that you were born. Evidence based on something that you were told is hearsay, and hearsay evidence is not recognized by the court. Yes, you were physically present when you were born, but you were too young to know the date or the time firsthand. To be acceptable, evidence must be witnessed to firsthand. You also lie when you solemnly swear to tell the truth. Your false birth date claim brings all of your subsequent testimony into question, even when you profess to know and swear to tell the truth. What's more, the government doesn't want you to tell the truth. It couldn't control you if it did. The government isn't based on truth. The government is based on agreement contracts. I would just add the current government. The number of his name is the number of your straw man's name, the number of his Social Security account. You'll find your straw man's all capital letter trademark, trade name on his driver's license, on his bank account, on his telephone bills, on his power bills, on all the public papers that are addressed to your government-created straw man, not to you. All of these documents that you think refer to you are not yours. These documents belong to your ens legis fictional vessel straw man. That can be verified. If you look on the back of your Social Security card, it specifically says that this card does not belong to you, but it belongs to the Social Security Administration. Welcome to the world of Oz. All right, Chapter 17, Equity Interest Recovery, which is a copy, if you will, of Chapter 51 of Epistle to Americans 3 about money. During the financial crisis of the Great Depression of 1929 to 33, the tangible substance of real money, gold and silver, was removed from the monetary system of the United States. In its place, the intangible substance of the American people, intangible substance of the American people, the wealth and productivity that belongs to them, was pledged by the government as collateral for the debt, credit, and currency of the United States and placed at risk so society's commerce could continue to function. Yes, they placed it at risk. We know that. We live a life of risk. We don't know when they're going to take our house away for non-payment of taxes, etc. Again, remember, that's the ens legis. But the people, the mass number of people who enforce this do not understand this. This is well documented in the actions of President Roosevelt and Congress and the congressional debates that preceded the execution of reorganization measures in bankruptcy. Remember, this is all bankruptcy law. 4. The new money, paper Federal Reserve substitutes for money, is issued to the banks in return for government obligations, bills of exchange, drafts, notes, trade acceptance, and bankers' acceptances. For example, 5. The new money will be worth 100 cents on the dollar because it is backed by the credit of the nation, our credit. It will represent a mortgage on all the homes and other property of all the people in the nation. Senate document number 43, 73rd Congress, first session. This new money belongs to all the people in the nation. The national debt is defined as mortgages on the wealth and income of the people of the country. Let me read that again. The national debt is defined as mortgages on the wealth and income of the people of the country. Encyclopedia Britannica, 1959. The people's wealth is their income, physical energy, productivity, and private property. Number 10. The bankruptcy reorganization of the United States is evidenced by 1. The Emergency Banking Act of March 9, 1933. 2. House Joint Resolution 192 of June 5, 1933. And 3. The series of presidential executive orders that surround them in 1933 and 34. Number 11. 20 years prior to this, on December 23, 1913, Congress passed an act to provide for the establishment of Federal Reserve banks to furnish an elastic currency, to afford a means of rediscounting commercial paper, and to establish a more effective supervision of banking in the United States and for other purposes, called the Federal Reserve Act. It's funny how they call to furnish an elastic currency, one that they can manipulate 12. One of the other purposes of the Federal Reserve Act was to authorize the hypothecation of the obligations of the United States, which the Federal Reserve banks were authorized to hold under 12 U.S.C. 14a. An hypothecation is a pledge of property as security or collateral for a debt without delivery of title or possession. Federal Reserve Act, Section 14a. All right? A pledge of property as security or collateral for a debt without delivery of title or possession. A tacit hypothecation is a hidden lien or mortgage on property that is created by operation of law without the parties' express knowledge or agreement, creating a tacit mortgage or tacit maritime lien. A tacit hypothecation is a hidden taking of assets owned by a party other than the taker to be used as collateral for a loan without transferring the owner's title or use to the taker. If the owner of the assets that the taker takes and uses as collateral for a loan retains the possession and use of the property, but the bank, the lender to the taker borrower, can take and sell the property in the event that the borrower, the taker of the assets, defaults on the loan. The action is called, in words of art, a pledge of assets to the taker. If the taker of the assets pledges the assets to a bank as collateral for a loan, the process is called, in words of art, a rehypothecation. They don't call it theft. In either a hypothecation or rehypothecation, there is equitable risk to the actual owner of the assets. Federal Reserve notes are obligations of the United States to the American people and the Federal Reserve Bank. That's according to the Federal Reserve Act. 20. The full faith and credit of the United States is the substance taken from the American people by hypothecation, the real property, wealth, assets, and productivity of the people that has been rehypothecated to the Federal Reserve Bank by the United States for its obligations to the Federal Reserve and its issuance and backing of borrowed Federal Reserve notes as legal tender for all taxes, customs, and other public dues. Okay? It gets tricky. You see how tricky they are. And this can only be done by small hats, let me tell you. I think they just sit around and weasel about how they can weasel out things from under other people. In other words, the hidden taking of the assets of the American people to be used in commerce by the United States while leaving the people with possession and use of those assets is called, in words of art, an hypothecation. 22. If the taker of the assets, the U.S., pledges the same assets to a bank, the Federal Reserve Bank, as collateral for a loan, the procedure is called, in words of art, a rehypothecation. In either a hypothecation or a rehypothecation, equitable risk and interest accrues to the owners of the assets, the American people. Therefore, Federal Reserve notes are priority obligations of the United States to the American people, and only secondary obligations of the United States to the Federal Reserve Bank. All right, I'm going to end there, but I want to read that one again. Therefore, Federal Reserve notes are priority obligations of the United States to the American people, and only secondary obligations of the United States to the Federal Reserve Bank. So what does that tell you? That tells us that we have the priority position, okay, in the bankruptcy. So we're to be paid first when there is an issue or when there needs to be a offset credit exchange. All right. So this is that process of getting used to it in our heads that we are the creditors. All right. We are the ones who need to be paid first. Okay. And that's why, believe it or not, the way this is legally set up in our country, all right, we as the creditors aren't supposed to pay for anything. All right, because they took everything away from us and our ability to use commerce, so that when we need something, it's supposed to be offset from what they owe us. All right, do you follow that? So this process is now being revealed finally. I mean, I just recalled how, because it was related, I'll tell you quickly. My son, my youngest, who's almost 16 now, going on 17, he was born a preemie. We were in a state hospital, and we didn't have insurance at the time. And he was in there for 6 weeks. As you can imagine how much the bill for being in neonatal ICU would have been. And the hospital kept coming up to us and saying, you need to apply for Medicaid or this and that and the other thing. And I said to them not to worry. There's a trust. Okay, we have a trust account. As soon as I said that, they backed off. They were like, oh, okay, because everybody understands that when there's a trust account, there's funds. All right. So after everything went fine and we left, and we got home, and then all the bills started pouring in. And that's when I pulled them all together and I performed the acceptance for value. Okay, I agree with those bills, and I am now presenting them back to the state hospital for credit discharge. Okay, acceptance for value, returned for credit, and discharge. And I sent a letter with that, to a copy of the information, to the Attorney General's office of the state in which the state hospital was. And we didn't hear anything more. There were a couple attempts, again, by the hospital itself, because they didn't understand the process. But as I forwarded it over to the state Attorney General's office, they took care of it. So it is there, and it does work. And nothing showed up on my credit report, or nothing anywhere. There was, however, one physician who didn't work for the hospital. However, he still worked through the hospital, and I said, it's going all through the hospital, so you can collect from it. But he refused, and that was a drawn-out ordeal. So there's where you get your resistance from some who just aren't willing to understand the process. Now, how did the state get its funds, if you will, to run the hospital? Well, they had to then inform the IRS of my status and take those bills, forward them on to the United States Treasury, and at which point they would, or they could approach the federal discount window of their bank with it all, and then get the exchange of Federal Reserve notes into their accounts in order to pay their people, etc. So that's how it works, but because it isn't common, there's resistance to it. All right, most of the states and entities that are run by and through the state, whether it be at the state level, the federal level, municipal level. Municipal is a little bit tougher because, again, they're like, oh, that's unusual. We haven't done this. And in that case, one of those cases, we did lose our house as a result of that for taxes. I just couldn't afford to pay the exorbitant taxes. And I accepted for value all their tax bills, but they still foreclosed on it. So I put a lien on the town. Well, a notice of lien. Okay, I didn't actually lien the town. I didn't know how to follow through back then. That was even way before Patrick was born at 17 years ago. So that was like 20 years ago. So I was very much in the beginning of this when it was years and years and years ago, when some of them begin to discover this. Now it's becoming more perfected. So that's enough for today. I will continue on tomorrow with how this works and how this operates so that we can get this information out there to everyone. Let us be grateful with the attendance and reverence of Mass. Deum vobiscum et quoque apote. Oremus. O most holy Trinity, the Creator and Redeemer of all the faithful, grant to the souls of thy servants and handmaids their remission of all their sins, that they may obtain by loving prayers the forgiveness which they have always desired, who livest and reignest with thee, one divine family, forever and ever. Suscipe Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum hoc immaculatum hostium, quam ego indignius famulos tuos offerdidipi Deum meum vivum et verum, pro unum edibidibus peccatis et offensionibus et negligencies meis, et pro omnibus cer constantibus, serer pro omnibus fidelibus, catholicorum vivis atque, defunctis ut mihi edidis proficitat salutem. Deum qui cum nae substantia dignitatem edibiditu godidis et medibidus reformaster de nobis, pediuis atque tum mysterium, eis divinitatis esse consortis communitatis nostrae, fieri dignatis est paticeps, Deum Iesum Christum Filium, qui tecum vivit et reinat in unitate Deum Patrum, Spiritum Sanctum. Offerimus tibi Deum calicem salutaris tuum de peccantis clementium, ut conspectu divinae majestatis tuae pro nostra et totius mundi salute, cum adoris suavitatis ascendat. In spiritu humilitatis et in animo contrito suscipiam orate Deum Iesum Christum, et sec fiat sacrificium nostrum et conspectu tu hodie, ut placeat tibi Deum matronam nostrae Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Veni sanctificator, Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, et sanctificite plata prosequendo, et accepere hoc sacrificium tuo sancto nomini, praeparatum. Suscipe Sancta Trinitas contemplationem quam tibi afferimus, a memoriam passiones, resurrectiones et discensiones Deum Iesum Christum, et in honorem Deum matronam nostrae et Papa Peter Sanctorum, et istorum et omnium Sanctorum, ut illis proficiat ad honorem nobis autem et salutem, et ili pro nobis intercedit id in interim caelis, quorum amorum agimus in teris pediendum Christum Deum nostrum. Orate, ut meum aquestrum sacrificium acceptabile fiat per Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Suscipia Deum Iesum Christum, sacrificium de manibus tuis et laudem et gloriam nominis sui, ad utilitatem quoque nostram totiusque ecclesiae suae sanctae. Deum vobiscum, et quoque apote, sursum corda habemus ad Deum. Gratias agamus Deum nostrum, dignum et justum est. Te ege tu clementissime Mater et Pater et Deum matronam nostrae Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, per Deum Iesum Christum Filium tuum Deum nostrae, supplices rogamus et petimus, uti accepta habeas et sanctificas, haec sanctam sacrificium irribata. In primis quae tibi afferimus pro ecclesiam tuam sanctam catholicam, quam pacificari custodiri ad honori et regere dineris tot orbiter arum atque catholicae. Memento Deum famalorum famarum cetuorum. We pray for the sick and the suffering. We especially pray for Luis Antonio Cantu, Robert Dosco Sr. and Jr., Katie Gage, RM, Neil and Earl Lively, Maria Josephina Mose, Letitia, Mindy, Clarette, Mark Jr., Henry, Barbara, and Benedict Santa Croce, Robert Santa Croce, Mr. Nobody, the Cantu and Duarte families, Michaela McLarnon and family, Sarah and Becky, Jenna and Lena, Lori, Aaron and family, Maria and the Lineweber family, the Kendrick, Dosco, Nai, Tafor, Began, Wolf, Kane families, and all their intentions. We pray for Mr. Nobody to receive the funding and strength needed to complete the first Sedevikatis Catholic Council office in Monastery of Illinois. We pray for an end to all governmental allowance or sanctioning of abortion, transgenderism, transhumanism, child trafficking, child abuse of any kind, anywhere, place, or time. Pray for the establishment of a Catholic monarchy with a sound Catholic system of labor, human value, medium of exchange with no usury. We pray for courageous men to step forward as leaders of this Catholic society who have courage to point out the wrongs, shine light on the evil. We ask for a reversal of feminist ideology and a return to godly femininity and a return to godly masculinity for men. We ask that women cease working for Freemasons and corporations everywhere, and that they understand that raising a traditional Catholic family is the very highest ideal for sustaining a Catholic society, one full of peace and order. We ask that all those degenerate vices that are shown on television and on the internet be stopped, just end. We ask for the conversion of all sinners trapped in a state of mortal sin, especially the ignorant. We pray for wisdom on how to prepare and preserve natural foods, learn growing techniques and preserving techniques. Learn how to care for farm animals properly so that they may feed you and your neighbor. We pray for the elimination of all harmful radiation waves in our air and in our homes. We pray that they stop abusing the chickens in the world under false pretenses. Chicken farmers, chickens themselves. All this we ask in accordance with the most holy and divine will of the most holy Trinity. Et omnium circumstantiam coram tibi fides cognita est noto devotio pro quibus tibi efferimus, varuque tibi affrontox sacroveciem laudis, pro se suis quem omnibus, pro redemptione anomarum suarum pro spe salutis et calamitatis suae, tibi que redunt vota sua aeterno Deum vivo et vero, communicantes et memoram honorantes in primis gloriosae, semper Deum matronam nostrae, et Deum Iesum Christum, et Petrorum martyrium tuorum, Papa Sancta Petri, et Sancti Lucia, et Sancti Jacinta, et Sancti Francisco, et Sancti Juan Diego, et omnium sanctorum tuorum, quorum meritis, praegibusque concedas ut in omnibus protectionis tuae moneam exilio, per in Christum Deum nostrum, quam oblationem de Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum in omnibum, consecratem ac eptabilem quae dineris ut nobis, corpum et sanguinem fiat dedictis mi filium tuum Deum Iesum Christum, qui pridie quam pateretur recepit panem in sanctus aquanabilis manus suas, et derivatis oculis in calamate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum sum omnipotentem tibi gratias agens, consecravit, fregit didiquilum nis sui dicens accipite et manducate ex hoc omnes. Hoc est ein corpus meum. Minimoro postquam ceremonia est accipiens hunc preclarum calicem in sanctus honorabilis manus suas, sitem tibi gratias agens, Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, consecrave dedique lumis vidicens accipite et bibite ex omnes. Hic est enim calix sanguinis mei mysterium fidei, quae pro nobis et pro multis effundetur in remissione peccatorum, aequates cumque feceritis in me mono facietis. Unde et memores Deum nos servituis et plebs tua sancta justum Christum filium tuum, Deum nostrae, tam beate passiones nec non et in feris resurrectionis, sed et in caelos gloriosae escensionis offerimus, praeclarae maestati tuae de tuis donis actatis, supra quae propitio ac sereno utu respicieri digneris. Supplices te ragamus Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, iube hec per manus tuum ut quod exequataris participatione sacrosanctum Deum Filium Tuum, corpus et sanguinem sincerimus, omni sanctificatione caelestia gratia Dei amor per innum Christum Deum nostrae. We pray for those who have died, and we especially pray for Roland LaPlante, for whom this Mass is being offered. Ipsis Deum et omnibum in Christum quiscentibum locum refugere lucis et paucis et dator gesta procomere per innum Christum Deum nostrum, per quem hic omnia Deum Iesum Christum semper bona creas, sanctificas, vivicas, consecratis et praestas nobis. Per ipsum et cum ipso et in ipso, est tibi Deum Matrum omnipotenti in unitate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, omnis honor et gloria. Ave Deum, matronam nostrae, gratia plena Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum tecum, sanctam tuum in mulieribus, Deum matronam nostrae materam Deum Iesum Christum, ora pro nobis peccatoribus nunc et in hora mortis nostrae. Libera nos quae sumus Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum omnibus malis, praeteritis praesentibus et futuris et intercedende beata gloriosa semper Deum matronam nostrae, cum Papa Petrum Sanctorum et omnibus sanctis da propicius Patrem in diebus nostris, ut ope misericordiae tuae aduiti de peccato, simus semper liberi et ab omni perturbatione secori. Per iendum Deum nostrum Iesum Christum Filium Tuum Deum nostrum, qui tecum vivit et reinat in unitate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, per aeternam. Pax Deum Iesum Christum sit semper vobiscum et quoque apud te, haecum extio et consecratio corporis et sanguinis Deum Iesum Christum, fiat accipientibus nobis in ad salutem aeternam. Pax tecum et quoque apud te. Deum Iesum Christum, qui ex voluntate Deum matronam nostrae, cooperante Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, per mortem tuam unum vivificasti, libera me per hoc sacro sanctum corpus et sanguinum tuum, ab omnibus iniquitatibus meis, et universis malis, et fac me tue semper in harare mandatis, et atinumquam separare permittas, qui cum eo Deum matronam nostrae, et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, vivis et regnam aeternam, perceptio corporis tui Deum Iesum Christum, quod ego indinius sumere, praesimo non mihi proveniat in iudicium condonationem, sed pro tu pietate prosit mihi ad tutomentum metis corporis, et ad me delam percipiendam qui vivis serenas, Cum Dei matronam nostra in unitate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Panem calestem accipiam et nomen Deum Iesum Christum invocabo. Dea matronam nostra non sondinius, uditus utetum meas, in tantidic verbos nabatur anima mea. Deum Iesum Christum non sondinius, uditus utetum meas, in tantidic verbos nabatur anima mea. Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum non sondinius, uditus utetum meas, in tantidic verbos nabatur anima mea. Corpus Deum nostrum Iesum Christum custodiet anima mea. Quid retubum Deum Iesum Christum pro omnibus quaes ortuabut mihi, calicem saitaris accipiam in nomen Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum invocabo, laudans invocabo Deum matronam nostra et ab inimicis meis salvus ero. Sanguis Deum nostrum Iesum Christum custodiet anima meam. Coloris sumpsimus Deum Iesum Christum puramente capiamis et temendere tempora fiat nobis remedium sempiternum. Corpus tuum Deum Iesum Christum quod sumpsit sanguis quam potavi et heriat visceribus meis apraesta, ut in me non remaniat scelor macula quam pura sancta reficerunt sacramenta. Deum vobiscum, et quoque apud oremus. May the prayer of thy suppliants profit the souls of thy servants and handmaids, we beseech thee, O most holy Trinity, that thou mayest free them from all sins and make them sharers in thy redemption, who livest and reignest with thee, one divine family, forever and ever. Deum vobiscum, et quoque apud ite mises, Deum gratia. Gratia tibi sancta Trinitam obsequium servitutis meae et praesta, ut sacrificim coroculis tuae maestatis in unus octo di tibi seta captable mique et omnibus, pro quibus idut octo dixiti miserante perpetuabile et Christum Deum nostrum. Sanctificat vos omnipotens Deum, matronam et filium et spiritum sanctum. Deum matronam nostra et Deum Iesu Christum et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Gracias. Most Holy Trinity, I believe, I venerate, I hope, and I love thee. I beg of thee pardon for those who do not believe, do not venerate, and do not love thee, do not hope in thee either. Most Holy Trinity, Deum matronam nostra, et Deum Iesum Christum, et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, I venerate thee profoundly, and I offer to thee the most precious body, blood, soul, and divinity of Deum Iesum Christum present here, in reparation for the outrages, sacrileges, and indifference by which he himself is offended, and through the infinite merits of his most sacred heart and the immaculate heart of Deum matronam nostra, I beg of thee the conversion of poor sinners. In nomine Deum matronam nostra, et Deum Iesum Christum, et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Gracias. Thank you, Andrew, for your donation on Cash App. I appreciate that. That's like, without any fees. All right. Ooh, it got warm in here. Got that fire going. Good. Looking forward to Florida. I'm going to get there right when winter ends. Hello, CW. Thank you for being here. Please go and sanctify all those you meet. Set up your altars in your home, little area, somewhere in a room that's quiet and private, and pray your rosary there. Get a kneeler too. You can do all those things. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for coming. Please go and sanctify all those you meet, if I didn't say that already.